Greetings, shoppers. Thank you for joining me for some Merge Together. You might notice it looks very similar to another game I played called Suika, but this is and that's basically what it is, but it starts with the premise of being a multiplayer game, but Justin and I can play it together, and while Suika is now a game with multiplayer in it, it did not start out that way. So I hope everyone is having a lovely week and that you did something fun and wholesome and wonderful. I have had, well, a productive week, I guess I should say, in some ways, but other ways not. Oh, damn it. I hate it when my lemons go astray. So I'm starting this thing where, okay, so tonight I just did my proofing for a publication, and then the editor actually got back to me on Instagram instead of email, of all things, and is like, well, you were accepted, check your email. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I sent you hours ago the stuff, so I'm not sure how that didn't happen, like how they didn't figure that out, but I'm like, okay, whatever. But I've never had an editor find me on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, whatever, to tell me, hey, asshole, check your stuff. They didn't word it that way, of course, but you know, I find it kind of weird. I was like, well, maybe that's how they do business, but it was just kind of something that's not normally done. But then again, I'm used to mostly American publishers, and I don't know where this one is from, you know, so interesting. Usually it's email follow-up only. Otherwise, I've been trying to get things going for other stuff. I owe you an apology. I was supposed to do the ship video in July, did not get that done. There were one or two other things I was supposed to get done in July, I think for my personal stuff, and didn't. Absolutely not. I wish I would have. I'm still debating doing the song of the day for all of you on like Blue Sky or Discord. We don't have a lot of people hanging out on the Discord, so part of me said it would be more prudent to just put it on Blue Sky, but I don't really know for sure. Okay, those are not gonna meet. This is like an estranged family up in this bitch. But yeah, I want to do a song of the day and like talk a little bit about why I like it, because I still can't do music streams, as I said on my last actual stream. I'm hoping to do early next week the conclusion of South of Midnight. That is honestly my intent, but I'm not sure how my intent's gonna go lately because reasons. Oh, that was a good one. That was almost like an, you know, oh, never mind. I'm trying to not be too age restrictive. Last time, okay, so full disclosure, I recorded this video already, and I did not post it because I got to talking about a certain misogynistic, transphobic troll, and it's not joke rolling for once. So, Asmund, you know who I'm talking about. Little Asmund Pyrite, was talking about John Oliver's take on trans people in sports, and I went through a whole fucking thing about that and like the studies that were used, and so I'm just gonna give you the Cliff's Notes version. He selectively lies and cuts things out to make it seem like it supports his opinion, because that's what a lot of people actually do. So there were things that he had totally cut out that were something that would have addressed a point he was going to make, or utterly contradicted him with science, which who needs fact, am I right, gamers? But yeah, it was kind of messy. And at one point I was making the point where if a trans person is considered being mentally ill, let's say even if it was a mental illness and blah 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 blah, you know, the cure for that mental illness or the treatment for it is still transitioning, right? Like, even if it's still, the best thing to do is still to give them hormones, still to give them, you know, social transitioning, whatever they need to be comfortable. That is how we treat that if it is considered a mental illness. I'm not saying what it is or isn't. I'm just saying if it's still the damn treatment. So there was a list that John Oliver had brought up on his show, and the list was anytime a cis person lost out to a trans person in a sport, but or like a trophy or an award. But first of all, they actually counted like every time. Okay, let's say a trans person got first place. So the person who got second would have gotten first, and the person who would have got second from them would have gotten, or third from them would have gotten second, and so on and so forth. So they can count one event as 3 different losses, quote unquote. So this whole they lost out over how many ever medals, you already have to reduce that by how many ever percentage points they were lying about, because a lot of them are just, well, this person would have gotten bronze, but they got 4th, and so on and so forth. So that was a lie. 2, they have multiple reportings of different people under the, or the same person under a different spelling of their name. So there are multiple entries for that, which is kind of like, okay, that's also disingenuous. 3rd, and here's something really important. Are you ready for this one? They counted things like poker, chess, square dancing. I don't know how much good testosterone or estrogen does at making you good at playing darts or poker or whatever. I'm not sure. I haven't really seen that particular study. Square dancing in the modern era, does HRT help? A think piece. I Jesus Christ. It's of course, like, anybody can report an event, so a lot of it's just disingenuous twat waddle anyway, but just things they don't want to actually, discuss as an actual thing. They just want to make people afraid or angry or whatever. Plus, it's fucking women's sports most of the time, because again, they act like trans men are just confused lesbians or some other kind of fucking bullshit that's not true. But they mostly want to attack trans women, of course, because, misogyny is still alive and well when you're trans. That's why it's called fucking trans misogyny. But yeah, they make it sound like these women are out here, like, winning everything. And then there's Riley Gaines, who's like, her story is kind of, I don't want to say a lie, because she did tie with Leah Thomas, but the thing is, she makes it sound like at points she did not get the 5th place trophy, and she got it in the mail. The only way reason she was holding the other trophy was because it was just for the photo. Now, I don't know why the place wanted Leah to have the photo, or the 5th place trophy instead of the 6th place trophy. I don't know what the hell, like, was it wokeism to have that one picture where Leah was holding the 5th place trophy and Riley was holding the 6th place trophy? Maybe it was all just about the photo op. But here's the thing, she still has her name as 5th place. She still ended up getting her trophy. What did she want people to do? Does she want every placement trophy to have multiple copies, so they have to make 6 first place trophies, like 5 bronze trophies? Like, what does she want? How many people are gonna tie for the exact 100th of a second? Plus, she was still 5th place. It's like, chill out. So then there's well, that's not too bad. I don't think I beat my score though. So then there's the girl who had her face spiked in volleyball. Now, I'm not trying to be like, haha, I'm not going to remember her name. I just honestly don't. But they tried saying, like, the trans person who spiked her in the face had, like, an extremely fast spike that, men have. And it's like, they did the calculations due to footage, and it was fast. But it wasn't like the 100 miles an hour or some ridiculous fucking thing people were trying to say. So, like, that's a lie right there. Also, the school they were against was like 100-something place. And it was like, okay, so they have this supposed like Amazonian wonder on HRT, and that person is like so dangerous that their school is in 100-something place. I don't know. Also, this woman is like, I had to give up my dream of being in sports, and here it wasn't sports because the next year she was in softball. And yes, I realize softball is not the same thing as volleyball, but you still have to have coordination, you still have to run, you still have to whatever. And then, like, after that, it seemed like she dropped out of sports. Now, could she have realized that she couldn't do sports after her supposed permanent debilitating injury? I suppose so. But it looks more like she turned it into a job to be, woe is me, the trans woman took my life away, more so than, you know, actually not being able to play. Do I know that for sure? No. It could have been that she tried softball and whatever, but she was in the, like, newspaper in her, like, area, and it seemed like she had been doing fairly well in the sport. Could she have had to give it up after that? Yeah. Could another injury that wouldn't have forced her off the field forced her off the field? Sure. It just seems really weird to me. But I can't really speak on that too much. But of course, now she's an anti-trans person, which, here's the thing. I think most people who are anti-trans, the minute they come up against a trans person in a competition, they're gonna find a way to say like it was unfair or whatever. Because one of the rules of persecution, kids, is that the people you're persecuting have to be incredibly strong, vicious, conniving, awful, and also weak, mentally ill, pathetic, all that kind of stuff. They have to have both at the same time, because it just works out that way when you are persecuting people. It's like 1930s Germany when they persecuted like Jewish people. The Jewish people were name all the bad adjectives about, like, you know, the lies about being money grubbers and whatnot, and also they were conniving, but yet they were not in their right minds, and they have to be strong yet weak, smart yet ridiculous. Like, it's something that happens with every, like, marginalized group people want to attack. And you can just find all kinds of, like, nasty parallels every time anybody does it to, like, any group, and it's quite something. So, apparently, people like Riley Gaines and whatnot at all take their loss against a trans person and, like, turn it into, like, this big, like, money grab, because people who don't like trans people are all like, oh, you sweet soft lady who got beat up by this, and they will say man, but of course not man, but you get me. And they give them, like, speaking engagements and money, and it's a pretty good racket for you know, not being able to hold your own. There are a lot of reasons why there are guidelines as to how much or how long you have to be on, you know, HRT before you are more, like, in line with the gender that was born that way. So, like, lung capacity and stuff. And yeah, here is the thing. Trans people, I would say, have certain advantages and disadvantages. And one of the advantages is, like, trans women in general are generally taller than cis women. So trans women are taller. And that is, they would have higher or larger wingspan. Like, they'd be able to reach, like, the side of the swimming pool faster. Sure, but there are also, like, severe and utter drawbacks to constantly being on hormones. But I don't see, you know, anybody else talking like, oh, there's drawbacks. And like I said, what are the advantages or disadvantages of being on HRT for darts? Like, be ridiculous. Why don't ya? But yeah, and of course, like I said, they don't bring up trans men competing with, like, cis men, because of course, you know, that's looked at as the cis man still having an advantage, which is weird. But yeah, it's all bullshit, Shelpers. But you know, there could be points I'm missing. Suris did a great video on it. I might drop it in the link, or I might drop it in my Discord if you want to see it. But yeah, I don't get it. You know, it's like people don't understand how transphobia hurts like cis people as well. And one of the ways that is about like policing the bathrooms. So if you are a woman with like short hair, say you're a butch lesbian and you have short hair and you're leather and you're living your best life and you're on your motorcycle and you got to take a piss and you're going to go into the ladies' room and they're like, you're trans because your hair is short and you don't have a dress on and you don't like makeup, and it becomes an issue because we police people by how feminine they are. So the people who are against like trans people, especially trans women, they will say like trans women make a mockery out of like womanhood, because a lot of them, and not all of them, but a lot of them will be, you know, looking into their feminine side, and they will wear the sparkly shit and the makeup and all that, and they're like, women don't need makeup, but yet they'll be like, you have short hair and no makeup, you're a dude trying to get in the women's bathroom. It's wild. It's honestly wild. And of course it hurts cis men as well. The expectation of, well, you're a man, you're a protector, you're a man, you're this, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, not necessarily. Like, well, your little boy shouldn't have long hair. Your little boy is a little boy. You shouldn't wear pink because you're a man. It's like pink used to be the color for little boys, like back in the late early 1900s, somewhere in there. Forgive me, Shelpers, I'm not like the biggest history buff. But it's like high heels used to be for men because they were the ones that rode astride on a horse and they needed some way to keep their feet in the stirrups. So that's kind of how we got high heeled shoes. But let's forget about that. And how Shakespearean actors back in the, you know, day of Shakespeare, even the, you know, women parts were played by men. Actors and actresses both have makeup that they put on. I honestly think makeup and clothes and stuff should be for anybody. You know, if you're a man and you feel good with some sparkly nail polish, go on with your bad self. Who the fuck cares? And if you're a woman who doesn't want to shave a single hair on her body, again, who cares? It's not anybody else's business, but they try to make it their business. I'm telling you. So as for what else is going on in the publishing world, Amazon has a 50-50 split on their Audible thing now because they have an Audible subscription, and they're like, oh, we give 50% to our authors. And now I'm not sure kind of how this works, but it seems like the more you read, it's not 50-50. So the way I understand it, and again, there's a video out there somewhere I could find if anybody's interested, but let's say me and like 3 other people are authors of books you've read this month. Well, instead of me getting that 50%, it splits up around with the rest of us. So the more people you read, the thinner the, you know, royalties, or the thinner the split. Because we're not just splitting it with me and Amazon, we're splitting it with everybody you've read. So basically it's like everybody you've slept with. You know, oh, you're spreading it around to everybody you slept with. That's kind of what Amazon's doing, but they disingenuously say, well, every time you read something, it's a 50-50 split between, and it isn't. It just isn't. But they get away with it. Plus, 50-50 split on audiobooks is not even industry standard, I don't think. I think most companies still give more. But of course, Amazon be out here Amazon, and what else are you going to do? I was going to save that little talk and about Luke Bateman for, like, more on Luke Bateman for when I did Bookbound again, because I should do another episode of that. And I like to talk publishing while I play Bookbound, but eventually I'm going to run out of Bookbound episodes anyway. So, but yeah, Luke Bateman, I think I brought him up before. That was pretty cool. is the Australian guy who was a rugby player and was on one of the Bachelorette shows. And he started a Book Talk account. And in the romance part of Book Talk, which, you know, men can do, there aren't a whole lot of men in Romancelandia, basically. And so he started it out there and very quickly amassed a following because, as far as I can tell, people think he's good looking, and I have no opinion on that as a very old asexual. But, you know, he started talking about like spicy book recommendations and stuff, which titillated all the little girlies, I wanted to say, but I don't mean it that way. I just mean like all the women who are there. And they're like, oh my God, he wants to read spicy. Oh my God, he's a man in romance land and he's handsome. Okay, whatever, right? You know, sex sells, look sell, whatever. And he actually gets a book deal, a 2-book deal from one of the bigger publishers in Australia, because that's, you know, where he's from. Crikey. And he didn't even start writing the book. Now, I think what they might do is they might give him a ghostwriter. I'm not sure. And I'm not saying that celebrities don't often get book deals, because they do. Like, just off their name. But mostly they get book deals for, how do I put this? For a memoir or something. Like, when Prince Harry wrote, quote unquote, Heir in the Spare, he probably wrote it with a ghostwriter. And a ghostwriter is someone who is there to write your book for you with your input, depending on how much that is, and making it look like it's you doing it. So at the end of like Harry's book, there wasn't another writer like put on there. It was just all him. But the likelihood that he did not write all that himself is pretty high. So while people have ghostwriters, mostly it's for, as far as when a celebrity gets a book deal, it's mostly for a memoir, like Harry did, Prince Harry. And to have somebody not write a word of a book, because he's admitted he hasn't even started the book yet, to get a 2-book deal in fiction is fucking wild. It doesn't happen to anybody else. But because of his minor celebrity status, I'm saying minor, to be fair to the guy, he might be like the biggest thing in Australia since sliced bread. And since I don't live there, I don't fucking know. But like I said, even most celebrities would have to show some kind of work before they were allowed to have a book deal. And he just comes in, and it's because of his fan base. So the women that are like running around screaming and everything, they know whether his book is going to suck to the 9 divines, that he is still going to make them a shitload of money. So since he prints money, then they don't care. So I'm honestly hoping that they give him a good ghostwriter. Of course, they'll never admit it, but I don't think they're going to let him struggle on his own, because that book is going to be so sought after. Everybody's going to be like waiting with bated breath. There's no way the company is going to be like, well, you actually suck at this, we're going to cancel your deal. They're just going to be like, let's hire someone to help you shape this up. So they're going to make sure he can't fail. But like I said, in fiction, you have to write the whole damn book normally. The rest of us normies do. You have to have a whole ass book before you can actually have anything come of it. And yeah, I know celebrities often get paid obscene amounts for things that the rest of us couldn't dream of, but it's a little more rare for fiction. They have to have some kind of proof in the pudding before they get any kind of deal as a fiction writer. But like I said, there's no way they're going to leave that money on the ground. So yet another case where somebody who, you know, then again, let me just say this. He could be a good writer. The thing is, nobody fucking knows. Yeah, he's a reader, and that actually will help a lot. But nobody knows if he's going to be a good writer because he hasn't written. He actually said, I'm excited to start writing the book. And that's not something you want to hear when you just saw a guy get an obscene amount of money for a book deal. Usually it's, you know, I'm looking forward to working with my editing team to refine my book. I'm looking forward to seeing this out in the world in bookstores, all kinds of shit. But now I'm looking forward to starting on the book. Because to get a deal, you had to have already started it. I know, weird, right? But again, if it's due to his good looks because of, you know, how big of a fan base he got, if it's due to his celebrity, whatever it is, nowadays people tell you like, well, don't worry about the social media, just write the book. More and more they're going to tell you that that's not true, that you need social media and a good following, and if you have a big enough following, it will translate into at least some book sales, so companies will just go after you anyway. All right, everybody, I think that'll do it for today. Let me know your thoughts. I think third week of this month I might be coming back to streaming. I'm gonna try to do a consistent 2 days a week of the week. I don't know what I'm doing for non-gaming streams. I always feel kind of honestly shitty about that because I want to do other stuff other than gaming. Everybody does, you know, a lot of gaming and stuff, and I want to bring you guys different experiences, different things to talk about, different ways to see the world, and I'm just like, my spoons pretty much only permit me to be a game player and just yak at you, and I'm sorry, I wanted to do other things with it, but I know a lot of you don't mind. All right, I will see you all later. Probably the next thing is going to be the finale of South of Midnight as a stream, and I will see you soon, okay? Bye.